Hi, thank you again for joining me with Leading with Purpose. I want to share with you today in regards to, I guess, a part two of why I started my 501c3 organization to assist young ladies aged out of foster care. And like I said, when the door closed, I was left with what do I do? And God brought me to again preparation. That was a stepping stone. Those years that I was there, and also to maybe encourage someone. When I came to that organization and I didn't have a job, but I was actually coming to volunteer. And that's one of the things that I want to share with someone when you're maybe in between, you know what I mean? Um, One of the things that you can do to kind of get off of yourself, get your focus off of your problems or what you're going through, is to really and truly volunteer. It is to volunteer. Get out there and help somebody else, help someone else, and then you'll see that God will open up the doors, that He will lead you to what He's called you to, or He'll lead you to, you receiving something that He has equipped you for. But when I went there, I actually was going there for interviewing for to volunteer, and I ended up with a job. And I thought, okay, well, what is this about? And I ended up with a job being a what was it? Weekend resident coordinator. And so yes, assistant worked not every weekend. I worked for a full year. Um, but if anyone had told me, you know, that as the years progressed, that I would end up being the executive director, I would be like, no, I'm not. That was never my game. That was never my goal. It was never my no. I was just, it was just never something. So if anyone had ever said that to me, I would have been like, no, because again, that's nothing that I was aspiring to. And, for a lack of words, I don't want it to be taken the wrong way, but I just never, thought about being the executive director one day. But after my first year, then the next year, I got, if you want to say, promoted to where I was able to work first shift. So now I'm no longer doing the weekends. I'm working first shift, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then from there, the next year, and I got a wonderful promotion financially, and it was nobody but God, no one but God. And then the next year, I got promoted again, and I ended up being the senior, if you want to call, resident coordinator, as well as slash the assistant to the program director. And so when she would go out and go to different meetings, that was for executive directors, program directors of the organizations, she was like, Chandra, you want to come along? And I was like, sure. So I would go along with her, and just to be able to be in the room, to be around the table setting of those who were the executive directors, who were the founders, who were who were, change makers, who could make the decisions, who did make the decisions. It was very, encouraging. It was very uplifting, like, wow, and so I enjoyed that. And so that was also that. And then the next thing I knew, she left. And then, I became, the interim program director. And I'm thinking, okay. And then the next thing I know, the executive director leaves. And now, here I am. I am by the board. Um, I was, nominated, voted on as being the executive director because I, knew the ins and outs of how the organization was to operate. But I want to say with that, it sounds like, wow, she just kept moving and moving. But I always kept the Lord before me. I always kept what God wanted me to do. And because that was never my, one day I'm going to be, the exact, no, that was never, it's never, again, my goal or aspirations. But I was just there for the young ladies that had their unplanned pregnancies, and to be able to help them and to be able to encourage them. And a lot of them, you got to always meet people where they're at. And I have to say, we believe that when we're in positions that we're helping others, yes, we're helping them, but I have to admit, they help me in so many ways. Their tenacity, I mean, their resilience. It just, I'm in awe. Like, wow. And you're like, I don't even know if I could have, gone through some of the things that they have endured and gone through, and that they shared with me, and they shared those things with me in confidence. And to know, they're going to test you. They're going to be like, I'm going to tell her something, and I want to see if it gets back, around. And I'm certain that they were able to say, I never shared anything. Now, if it was life threatening, I'd have to share and tell, say something, see something. You see something, you got to say something. But nonetheless, I built their trust. I built their trust. And I just kept along the ways, as along the years, teaching them and showing them. And we had I put in different life skills in place for them, having different people to come, having assigned them with mentors, getting them set up with GED programs, for because a lot of them hadn't finished their high school or received their high school diploma. Encouraging them to, not only just get a job, but get a job that's going to be best suited for their personality, what they like to do. Just so many different things. I incorporated, when it came time for, when they did receive their GED, or, that high school diploma or something, unknown to them, I would go and decorate their door. Me and staff would go and decorate their door, that when they came back, they were like, oh my gosh, when it was birthdays, any kind of celebratory thing, even in the small things. Because I know for me coming up, I got rewarded for, making A's honor roll. So for the majority of my life, yes, I made honor roll. But and I got rewarded, I got rewarded. And so just to be able to, again, to give back to them. But yes, just going from, the weekend resident coordinator to within 4 years, being the executive director, like, what now? What? But only God. And how I had to, of course, you've got to show the state, your, requirements, or not requirements, but your, what is your accreditation, so to speak, in regards to why you're in, because they prefer for someone to have their degree in social work, which I do not, but I have been doing it for so many years, and even unknown to me, and another job that I had. But to be able to show them, my qualifications, and I had such a wonderful rapport with my state representative, just a wonderful rapport. And I just said to her, like, why can't other state representatives be like you? She was so into giving the information, letting you have the tools, and knowing what to do, what not, and I just said I was put in good hands. And so because of that, and anything that was needed, anything that was asked of, she knew that I would be able to give it to her within the hour, if not within 24-hour turnaround time. So, we had that rapport, we had that trust. She had that assurance that in me. So as she brought my qualifications to her boss, they were like, okay, sure. So when I submitted my things, and I had a letter of recommendation from, I think, the board chair. And, I'm on pins and needles, like, oh gosh, what are they going to say? I mean, and then when I opened up the email, and they were like, if you just sign this document, sign and date it, you're now the new executive director. And I thought, wow. And it was nobody but God. But I say that to say, you got to stay committed. You've got to stay faithful. You've got to, you know, were there challenges along the way? Absolutely. There were challenges along the way, but you got to have the endurance to just keep going. The challenges, and they won't last always, but to keep going. Now, did that probably make a lot of other coworkers, happy that here I am getting promoted, and here I am now, I'm kind of in charge, that you report to me when the program director isn't available, and they've been here longer than I was, but it is what it is. Look, what does it say? Something ain't fair. Favor ain't fair. Put that in there. Put that in the comments. Favor ain't fair. But God favored me. He favored me. And so, like I said, along the years, every year I got promoted, and every year I kept coming up with creative ideas and creative ways that I knew that would best be able to suit, the young women that we were serving. And to be able to, when they did deliver their babies, that kind of exited them from our program because we weren't licensed for child care. And sure enough, a lot of them, they would come back. Oh, Miss Chandra, I want you to see, and of course I did. And a lot of times, even with that, it wasn't part of my job duty. When they would go into delivery, a lot of them, my first time, even being as a weekend resident coordinator, they were like, "Will you come and be there with me?" And and I'm like, "Me?" Like, because I don't know how it was done before, but I'm thinking, of course, we would call up the family or whoever they wanted to, be in the delivering room with them. But it was like, to me, I took it as an honor that, wow, you would want me to be, in the room with you as you're delivering your baby. And so that was, another thing that kept us connected. But then, a couple of months, whatever, go by, and they come by. Oh, I'm coming by. Let me see the little yum yum. I call the babies yum yums. Let me see the little yum yums. And then they go down and they be like, can I get some? I need some things. And, where we were at in that home, we had a whole floor, a basement. And so I was like, yeah, I go ahead and give them the key and let them shop. I knew that they needed items, they needed toiletries, and so those things. And then also God placed in my heart along the years to give them a care package, so to speak, or a care box in regards to their Medicaid and food stamps didn't necessarily pay for Pampers and the toiletries that's needed. So where we were in a partnership with the food bank, God placed it on my heart, and I had a great, again, rapport with the associates at the food bank. And I said, hey, this is what I need. I need the Pampers. I need the bottles. And when I tell you those big old, I don't know what they call them, but big boxes filled with stuff that you have to like dumpster dive to get in it. But I would always definitely stock up on the baby bottles, the Pampers, the wipes, the shampoos, whatever. I would stock up on it for them so that when they left, I would have it to be where they had at least a good, I would say, if not 3 weeks, a good month, of Pampers on hand, because that was something that I knew that they would need. But nonetheless, that door closed, and so here I am, with now mine, because God reminded me those years, that was preparation. All of that was preparation. And there was even a moment that came that we had, it's so important that whatever position that God gives you, that you're faithful in that position, so that you don't, how do you say, cause the position or cause the organization that you're a part of to be in dire straits where maybe the door will get closed. That's all I'm going to say on that. So that's the situation that we faced. And I just thought, oh my gosh, we were told basically maybe a day or two about, we may not have a job. And it's like, really? Is this what we're doing? And so God sent someone to come and, purchase another home for us. So even with that, purchasing, and when I say another home, that meant that we had to leave the home that we were in, already paid for, 3 stories, a full basement downstairs, corner lot, near a bus, a 5-minute walk either direction to the nearest bus stop that was conducive for the residents. Yeah. Near the hospital right down the street. I mean, very conducive. But when we don't do the right thing, I guess maybe you have missed, I don't know, you don't do the right thing. So we had to uproot from that location And again, God sent another person to buy us a home. Now, with that home, it's basically starting over. And I remember saying, wow, okay, looking at it, I said, this is really not going to work because it was at least now a 20-minute walk, maybe 20, yeah, at least a 20-minute walk for the residents to even, get to the first bus stop. It just wasn't, the home itself wasn't really conducive. But hey, when someone gives you something and they're like, you can take it, basically it was take it or leave it. Now, I wasn't the executive director at the time. I was the interim program director. But I say all that to say that when we got there, again, because now we're in a new location, we got to start all over. So state as well as the county, they want to see, permits. That you got to go through the whole permit thing. You got to go through whole licensing over here. You got to go through, just all kinds of checks and balances. And guess who got stuck doing it? And I thought, are you serious? I'm not the executive director. Why is the executive director at the time, tumbling that down to me? And so state would often, send that person the necessary things that had to get, signed off, checked, done. And they would realize that person was not responding back. And so again, because I had a great rapport with her, she was like, Chandria, I need these things done. And because of that, and the new chair seeing I was doing the majority of the work. And even with that, I just thought, God, why am I the one left holding the bag? I'm not the executive director. Why do I have to be the one to see that this gets done and that gets done? You know what I'm saying? But all in hindsight, you see, but I did it. I did it. But it was in hindsight that when the door closed, I would say 2 years later, when the door closed, God was like, that's the reason why. He had me to be able to see what it looks like from ground zero to building to establishing all of the details that's required when you're starting you're a 501c3, when you're opening up and starting a transitional group home. Every minute detail, he let me see it. I had to go through it. Did I want to go through it at the time? Absolutely not. Did I think it was fair? Absolutely not. But God was like, again, he's working behind the scenes. He's put in there where God is working behind the scenes, girl. God is working behind the scenes. But God worked behind the scenes, and he allowed, again, that experience and what I had to go through. I mean, when I tell you, it was not even just the home. That was one major thing. But then it was also the year that we were to be, what's the word, relicensed. So the state was going to come back out and check our books, employee books, the resident books, all of the other things. And I'm thinking, again, guess I got left holding the bag. I got left being the one to do it all. But again, I'm one of those people. I'm like, okay, it's got to be done. I'm not going to sit here and drag my feet and complain and da. I go ahead and I just bust the moves. And so because of doing that, I made sure, because the previous persons did not make sure that the books were kept up, for both the residents as well as the employees. They just did. And again, state wants to see, when you're dealing with state, all T's must be crossed and all I's must be dotted. There's no in between. And so I did so. So we passed, not only with the state, but then also with DSS. I think in times past under the other leadership, we might have had at least a minus 15 and more on our, getting dings for this wasn't right with DSS. And when I came on board, I knew it. We were at 100%. And I was in my office and I was like, oh God, don't let her check that microwave. Don't let her, because I had a microwave in my office, and a lot of times the staff would come, heat up their food or whatever in my office. And so in doing so, something quick, because our offices was kind of adjacent. And so in doing so, it was like, okay, we have this, we've got that. And I just thought, Don't let her check that. And she said, oh, she was just about to walk out the door. And she said, oh, I didn't check the microwave. And I thought, okay. And I said, well, hopefully, because I don't have a messy, crew or messy employees. I said, I know that they've got it clean. Well, she saw, all it takes is like one crumb, just one crumb. And it's like, so that's basically what happened. It was something that was in there, not really messy, but because she saw that, she said, oh, I gotta, take off. And I was like, so we only got what, 2 points taken off. So I think going from, a minus, well, not necessarily a minus, but from like the low low 90s to a high 80s to now we're at 98. I'll take that. I'll take it. But just to say again, along the way, uh, just staying the course and remembering that when we do our work, we do all of our work as unto the Lord. We do all of our work as unto the Lord. And He's the one who will promote, He's the one that will reward. And so that's what you want to do. So my faithfulness, brought me, going from the weekend resident coordinator. Again, I came there to volunteer and ended up with a job. But I worked, I started off as the weekend resident coordinator. And what did I say earlier? Weekend, every weekend I worked. But doing that, and that brought me closer to with the residents. And then from there, like I said, I got the first shift, and from there, the resident, senior resident coordinator slash assistant to the program director. And I got to be able to again be in the room of the decision makers, of how people navigated what they talked about. And so those things helped to equip me and prepare me. That's why, God was like, when that door closed, that was a stepping stone, baby girl. That was preparation for what He had for me to do. So a lot of times in life, we may go through things that we don't like, and we might feel like, well, why do I have to be the one doing this? Well, why did all of this fall on me? To know that there's purpose. God doesn't waste anything. God wastes nothing. He wastes nothing. So I hope that inspired you and encouraged you and motivated you that, again, when life challenges comes, we may not always like them. We may say, why me? Woe is me. But we just, put on your bootstraps, roll your sleeves up, and just let's do this. Put that in the comments. Let's do this, because the job has got to get done. And you're the one for the job. You be the man, you be the woman to get the job done. So don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification for more videos. And again, go out, be the good that you want to see in the world. Have a great day.